Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Well, I live in Burleson, Texas. My name's Brad Schwarz, and I have a variety of ventures that I like to be a part of and do. Probably the most exciting thing that's happened in the past week is I've completely stepped away from the job, and I am officially 100% entrepreneur now.
Awesome. So can you just tell me more about the entrepreneurship that you're involved in?
We have a company called Moretti's Gourmet Olive Oil and Popcorn, and we acquired that store about 2.5 years ago. So that's been one of the things we have going on to help me get to take my off ramp out of employment. And then the other is Priest International, which is flower supplies and anything a flower shop would need, with the exception of live flowers, we provide on a wholesale level.
Right.
Also, my wife is involved in ministry, business, or life coaching, biblical counseling arena, and we also do work with homeless men, women, and children, and that's called Crazy 8 Ministries. And then a lot of the folks that live in the housing. It's not a traditional homeless type situation. It's more a 2 to 3 year kind of program. And we have several homes that we house these people in. And oftentimes they'll work for us in some of our businesses to help them gain better employment skills and those types of things. So the ministry side of what we do is very important.
That's amazing. So in terms of Moretti's Gourmet, let's just dive deeper into that. So what percent of that business is e-commerce versus retail?
Right now, retail probably makes 30% of our business, our revenue, and then 70% is wholesale. We currently are in over 200 convenience stores in the state of Texas with a private label called Oma's Choice. And we have some other wholesale opportunities on the horizon that we're pursuing. But e-commerce right now is a zero. And but it is part of our strategy. Ideally, going into 2024, we're kicking around some ideas on how we want to crack that nut.
Awesome. So for e-commerce specifically, are you thinking about Amazon or selling directly from your website? Like what is, I guess, the thought process here for next year?
Looking at directly from the website right now, and then also in contact with someone who does a lot large email marketing campaigns and those types of things. It's surprising that I was listening to a podcast not too long ago. Number one form of marketing right now, and it really surprised me, was an email marketing, email campaign.
Right.
How many do we just delete or don't even open in our inbox every day? But this, I was just really surprised at that. I never realized that. So it just really made me think about those two businesses that I talked about, how we can start. So about 6 months ago, we started in the flower supply with constant contact and doing a couple email campaigns every month. And surprisingly, it hits. We got a 30% open rate. And the next thing you know, probably 10% of the people that open are actually purchasing $300-$400 orders off the marketing campaign, email marketing campaign. Then we've integrated the popcorn into the flower supply business. So a lot of these floral shops now are buying our popcorn for their gift shops. But email marketing has been a really big boost for us. And I never would have realized it in this day and age. But what do we do every day? All day long, we're looking at our emails.
No, 100%. And I always tell people like email is a low-hanging fruit because the people who subscribe have already bought from you and they love your product. So it's like, oh, well, this product's on sale. It's like, shoot, like, why not? It's like,
yeah.
So it's very easy to sell to those people as opposed to trying to get new customers from running ads.
Yeah. And I just it never, dawned on me until I'd listened to that podcast. And I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Because like you said, it was low-hanging fruit. Doesn't cost a whole lot. Just start sending them out.
Awesome. So what would you say is the biggest challenge when it comes to your business?
I think it's a crowded space, especially with the wholesale stuff for snacks and things like that. People fighting for shelf space if we want to go that route. So, ironically, I'm reading a good book right now. It's an old book. It's been around a while. It's called Blue Ocean Strategy. And I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Man, it's probably, I think it was the mid 2000s when it came out. And it's a red ocean is the space everybody's in, like with snacks or wholesale popcorn and stuff like that. You have to compete in that space, and you're going to carve out a little bit of market share there. And the more people that come into that space, your market share is going down. And so you got this big fight going on in a red ocean. Blue ocean strategy is trying to develop, and I'm sure I'm butchering this, I'm midway through the book. But trying to develop other pathways that are outside the norm a little bit. So for us, a blue ocean strategy was connecting the popcorn to the flower supplies. And we started out just by giving out free appreciation to our customers, all 100, 150 flower shops and all over Texas. And naturally, their response is, oh my God, where do we get this popcorn? Because it's the most delicious popcorn you'll ever taste. And oh, well, we can take care of that for you. And the next thing you know, so it's a blue ocean strategy that our competitors, they're not doing, and it's finding different things like that is really about blue ocean strategy. And there's a lot of opportunities out there if you're not focused on the red ocean every day.
For sure. So I mean, I guess like when it comes to retail, you mentioned, are you only selling in Texas, correct?
So we have a little storefront in Burleson, and yes, right now it'd only be in Texas. We do, without disclosing anything, of course, but we do have some good opportunities right now. We're in the middle of, from a private label perspective, and right now, I think that's our strategy, is to go with more of the private label side. We have a great product, but we really don't want to get into marketing and advertising and all of that. I'd rather private label it and somebody else can take care of all that. But
Right.
when people taste our popcorn, it and I know it sounds like a sales pitch and everything, but it's a genuine, what I'm communicating is I see the look on people's faces, and it's, where have you been all my life kind of look.
Right.
And then of course it's like, holy, what is this? I've never taken, and it's fantastic popcorn. And so it's really, once they taste it, people are hooked and all of that.
Well, like you mentioned earlier that you were looking at e-commerce. So is it more of like doing both in parallel, like doing like, private label, letting somebody else sell under, your popcorn under their label, but then essentially you'd be, I mean, for lack of a better term, competing with them by selling it as a different brand.
Yes, yeah, I've kind of thought about that. It's interesting because the gentleman that we private label with now, and he's all over the state of Texas, and I'll see the brand, sitting on a convenience store shelf 30 minutes from here, and so there is a little bit of that, but I just kind of take the philosophy, the more we sell, the better. And I,
Sure.
Moretti's popcorn, we probably have more of a local retail presence in Burleson. And then as far as regional, and then ideally nationwide here, I'm okay with whatever that label says. I really am.
That's awesome. So in terms of the floral business, what does that look like? Can you just kind of just dive deeper into that business and how you work with your customers there?
Priest has been around for over 20 years. And I'll just back up how we bought Moretti's and Priest. And probably about 4 years ago, I talked to local Congressman Roger Williams. And he spoke a lot. He's very heavily involved in small business administration and things like that. One of the things the government knows is it's an aging population, these small business owners. They've been around for years, and the average age may be 55 to 60 years old of these small business owners. They want to sell, they want to retire. They've done it for 20, 25 years. There's no family members that want to take on the business anymore. So that's when I got on the path, my wife and I, to look for opportunities. And so the opportunity for Moretti's, same thing. Robert Moretti was 78, 77 years old, ready to retire. John Priest for the flower supply business, same thing, ready to retire. So that's when these opportunities came up. But with Priest, a very well-established business. Same with Moretti's. They had been around 11 years. Priest has been around 20 plus years. And so very good foundation for a business. And then the opportunity for me, having been, involved on the healthcare side, and that's kind of what my job's entailed over the last 20 years, but more operationally, finance, different things like that. And to be able to apply some of that to a flower business. And it doesn't seem like a connection, but the connection is really the passion for serving, which I've done in healthcare. I've done it my whole life. And then going into supplies or retail popcorn, serving customers. That's the excitement about it. And so at Priest, we have several major buyers that were already on board. So it's certainly the strategy is how do we make it even better for them? And then we have the local flower shops in West Texas, East Texas, North Texas, that in the last 5 years, Priest had not focused on them like they had prior to that. Priest had been more involved with heavy retailers for the flower supply, like vases and different things like that, and some major grocery stores in Texas. So as soon as we bought it in March, our focus was to get to the local flower shops and get back out and meet people. And the great thing about it is when we got out there, everybody was like, oh my God, we're glad Priest is back. Are you guys coming back out? East Texas, there are over 100 flower shops inside the loop around DFW. So the opportunities are incredible. And
Right.
What we're finding is the old way of loading your product in a van or a big truck or, just something like that, and driving around shaking hands and talking to these flower shop owners is much more preferable than e-commerce, getting online, having a fancy website. It's been pretty cool to see the interaction, but it makes sense if you look at the age of the majority of these flower shop owners. They still want to see an old catalog and look at the pictures and order by, carbon copy and things like that versus get online and just hit a ticket and boom, here you go. Here's your delivery. So we call every week, call the local flower shops, say we're going to be in your area, next week. Are you ready to place an order? They love our delivery driver. They're buying stuff right off the back of a truck. And it seems like it's, 1980s, but it's amazing to see how the value of being in person.
So you don't have many people that are going on the website and so it looks like that you can't even, that you more of just put in like an inquiry, right? And then you get like an email ticket and then it's, somebody to go, well, it'll be this much for this amount, right? So
yeah.
So what percent of the people are doing that versus what you mentioned, like the in-person buying?
I would say less than 5%.
Oh, wow.
Now usually it's the response to the email, the constant contact.
Right.
They'll go through that and then go to the website and order what maybe we promoted that month. But our smaller sales, which I would describe as the local flower shops and those kind of things, they're face to face. They love that interaction, which is, what you think when you think from a operational expense, from a labor standpoint and all that can be pretty labor intensive. So you got to be conscious of that, but yet it does drive sales.
That's amazing. So
Yep.
Obviously 2024 is around the corner. So for both Priest and Moretti's, what would be considered a successful 2024 for you guys?
I think we're probably an increase of about 10% in revenue on both those entities. And strategically, I think we're prepared to do that. I think we've got a couple more deals that are hanging out there, but I feel confident they're going to come across. But that would be a success just from a revenue standpoint. But I'd like to see, because I believe in the popcorn and the taste so much that if what we got on the table comes through, then I think we could really be a major popcorn supplier. I don't know how that compares, nationally at this point, and what kind of revenue other companies are doing, other than what you can scour on the internet and things like that.
Right.
But I would like to think we could move, substantially up that ladder. And so that's that's there in the flower supplies. We have several grocery store chains that are interested in purchasing from us, but it's really comes down to relationships, Dan. And just really building relationships with people and networking. So I just I appreciate what you're doing and reaching out and like that flower person, family flowers, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, when you did theirs, and really listening to what they have going on, and I'd really love to
Yeah,
reach out to them and see if they would
right.
love to take a look at us and what we provide with flower supply.
For sure. Yeah. And then I guess like what would you say is the biggest obstacle that's in the way between from where you're at now to growing by 10% next year?
I say biggest obstacle. That's a tough question because I don't look at obstacles, or it's just getting out there and meeting and talking to people and things like that. I mean, I think we have a lot of opportunities out there. Probably biggest obstacle would be the name recognition, but for Moretti's and growing that. Priest is a really well-established name in the industry, and so I think sky's the limits there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So, what would you say is like the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you bought these companies?
it's tough because I had no background in either one of these industries, so it was a lot of research just done, personally and reading up on different things like that in the industries. I would say probably like if I had to get more tactical, like the management of the expense, the revenue and expense side, net 30, net 40, the cash flow and really having a better feel for managing that cash flow better. So probably, of course, after a few months, of holding on tight to the steering wheel a little bit, you figure it out. And but that would probably be my biggest. I wish I had more knowledge around that when I started.
For sure. So, if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? Just, I guess, best ways to get in contact.
Probably, through there's morettisgourmet.com, and that's our website. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn's probably the best. Brad Schwarz, SCHWARZ. That's probably the best way to ping me. And I'm trying to get better at responding to people because learning a little bit more about the LinkedIn side of stuff. And it's even if you're not interested, it's very important to respond.
Yeah, I always try to respond as well. So, well,
Yeah,
Brad, I want to say thank you so much for your time. And yeah, like we're rooting for you to have a very successful 2024.
you bet. Thanks, Dan.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you.
See ya.